Hi guys and welcome, my name is Jude and today I'm here to do a review of A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas, which is the second book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. Now I have the first one as a hardcover and the second one I listened to as an audiobook on Audible. The audiobook was pretty great, the narrator was pretty good, so it was all good in that aspect if you're wondering. I will give you a very small spoiler-free review in the beginning of this video and then I will just dive into spoilers because I have so many things that I want to talk about this book that are spoilery, so let me just start right off with no spoilers. And what I can say about this book with no spoilers is that I am not sure I liked it. It's so weird because I was watching my review of A Court of Thorns and Roses and I will link it down below, you can go check it out. I sort of liked it and I remember having kind of liked it. There was flaws. There were some definite flaws and some things that got in the way with me liking it completely, which I addressed in my review. And if I'm not mistaken, I mentioned that I was not sure I was going to continue with the series, and I was so not sure I would. But the thing is that the third book was released, which is A Court of Wings and Ruin. It was released and I saw it everywhere. Everyone was talking about it. My YouTube homepage was filled with reviews for this book. My Goodreads newsfeed was just people talking about it. My Instagram was insanely filled with booktube accounts showing this book and I was like, oh my god, it's like so much hype. My Tumblr was filled with fan art of the characters and the books and I was so drawn into it and the fan art is amazing and I was like, I really want to be in on this. It seems like it's going to be amazing, so I want to get into it. The thing is that I hadn't realized that this was the third book in the series. I thought it was the second book because I heard absolutely no hype for the second book and that was so weird. And as far as my perspective goes, I think the second book was not that great and maybe the third one just picks itself up, I'm not sure. But overall I have very conflicting thoughts in regards to the second book. I enjoyed it the same way in which I enjoyed the first one. It was an entertaining story, the whole thing just kept moving and it kept me actively listening. Like, I wanted to listen to it. I wanted to get back into the world. The characters are extremely well developed, as Sarah J Maas tends to do. The world building is beautiful. I can see Perithian completely and fully amazingly well in my head, and yeah, those are qualities that Sarah J Maas puts into all of her books, which make her a great author. But as far as the second book, I did not like Feyre. And it's not so much that I did not like Feyre, it's that she was simply portrayed as a victim of circumstance. She was a passive character. She did nothing to move the plot. Things happened to her and she only reacted to them, which bothered me a lot. It was very frustrating to watch her and also to see that her motivation came from men, which also drove me insane. And that made for a very cringeworthy reading experience for me. But still, I kept reading and the book kept me interested in the story, which is why I gave this book 4 out of 5 stars. But just know that fully, in my head, I'm giving it 3.5 stars because I read it all. I was very into it. I was very like anxious to see what was going to happen. I really loved the rest of the characters, but I did not like how Feyre was portrayed on behalf of the author. Which does not mean I don't like Sarah J Maas. I think she's amazing and that she had her motives for portraying her that way, and I would love to like chat with her someday. But yes, those are my thoughts in general. I will be making a discussion on regards to Feyre and Selena, which is a character from the Throne of Glass, which is another novel by Sarah J Maas. And I will be talking about both characters and just sort of like not comparing them, but definitely analyzing them both in the same category because they come from the same author, yeah. So stay tuned for that, and that will be it for my no spoilers review. So if you have not read the second book and you do not want to be spoiled, then please exit the video. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye! Okay, so if you're still here, I'm guessing it's because you already read the second book or you don't really care much about the spoilers. So let's just get right onto it. I love the fact that Rhysand was made now the main love interest. I really like him a lot. And in my review for the first book, I mentioned that it didn't really ship him with anyone, but for this book, I was like, yes, yes, yes. And watching that aspect of the romance develop was mainly what made me want to keep reading, because I was shipping them so hard, and I just wanted to see them go canon, full canon. So I give the credit of my 4-star rating to Rhysand fully, mostly to that relationship. But the events that lead up to it drove me insane. When Feyre is in the house and she's just allowing herself to be manipulated by Tamlin, it's just insane. I couldn't believe what I was reading, and that both Tamlin and her would go to such lengths and allow said things to happen. And I understand that she was in a very weak state of mind, which is sort of how it's justified in the book, but still, it truly, truly, truly killed me to listen to those parts. It was so frustrating. I couldn't believe that it was happening, and it of course it does not mean that Feyre was a weak character because of that. She just showed a lot of weakness in that moment, and I wouldn't have minded that because it was a very abusive relationship if she had learned afterwards, which it didn't seem like she did. There is a very key moment in the book when she already left Tamlin and she's falling in love with Rhysand, that she's thinking she's a traitor constantly in her head, because she sort of like betrayed Tamlin, leaving him for Rhysand. And when she finally embraces her love for Rhysand, I was so happy for her, and I was like, yes, it does not matter. The past is the past. You have every right to jump from one relationship to another without betraying the other person. You are your own person. You can make your own choices. You are not guilty of anything. And I felt that was a very empowering moment. But then that's when she discovers she is Rhysand's mate. And she's like, oh my god, I wasn't a traitor for liking him. It's that he was my mate. So I just couldn't help it. And I just felt all of it crumble down completely. It crumbled down. Instead of being her own person and deciding on her own accords whom she establishes a relationship and with whom not, she just thinks that it's because it was this uncontrollable force that made her do it. Like, I don't think that anyone is any less for breaking up with someone and then starting a new relationship. No matter how fast it may be, you have every right to do that. Like, maybe it stings a little for the other person, and of course there's always a context, but if you truly like someone else and you're not comfortable in your past relationship, it does not make you any less of a person to get into another relationship. Like, not at all. I definitely do think that you need to work out your issues first. That's something that I personally strongly relate to, that if you jump out of a relationship, you need to just take some time to be yourself, see what went wrong before you get into a new one. But that time, it's yours to decide. I would have felt so much more empowered, and I would have thought so highly of Feyre if she would have been like, yes, you know, I am making this choice for my own. It does not make me a traitor to love a new man. But when she justified it with the mate thing, I was like, okay, no. It just made me feel like she learned absolutely nothing of her independence and the choices that she is allowed to make for herself, in which others should not intervene. She got out of her prison in Tamlin's mansion because someone else got her out of it. She woke herself up because Rhysand was constantly there with her as her punching bag. She was able to sort of establish her independence, but it was because of a bonding mate thing that was above her and beyond her control. She just kept reacting without actually making the plot move for herself, and that was just, no. Didn't like it that much. And to be honest, there is nothing wrong with being a passive character and letting things happen to you and just reacting to them. It's just that I didn't like it. It was not my preference. That is why I like Selenia from Throne of Glass a lot. She makes the plot move of her own accord. Things do happen to her, but at the end she takes control of them. Whereas Feyre just sort of like, it's a victim of circumstance throughout the whole novel. Near the end, she does seem to sort of take things into her own hands, which is the exact same thing that happened in the first book. It's not until the last like 100 pages where she's just like, I'm gonna go get Tamlin and all these things, but still she falls a victim of circumstance again under the mountain. So that happened, and that was really frustrating. Another thing that happened is that Tamlin was just so boring and meh during this book. Something that I love about Sarah J Maas is how complex she writes characters, and I remember that I liked him in the first book, but once after a year passed and I jumped into the second book, I could not remember a single reason as to why I liked him in the first book. And I feel that this was just such an easy out for the author in terms of, oh, I want Feyre to be with Rhysand, so I'm just gonna make Tamlin nasty. And you're going to have to not like him, so you're gonna want her to be with her sand. I feel that that's sort of the easy way out to do things, whereas when it's a sort of left triangle thing or there's this sort of conflict, I like to feel the conflict. Whereas with Farrah and Tamlin, I was just like, I cannot remember why I like this asshole in the first book, so just dump him, get rid of him, get rid of him. I would have loved to feel the conflict a lot more instead of just wanting her to be out of that relationship. So I think that could have made things a lot more interesting. I currently already started with the third book, and Farrah does seem to be acting as an active character, and she seems to be moving the plot currently, and I like that. I mean, it's not bad so far, so I am hoping that I will enjoy it by the end of it. But overall for this book, I send what my 3.5 star rating. I give that because credit where credit is due. It was a very interesting book. I kept on reading. It kept me so interested. I read it in a week, listened to it in a week, but I am not loving it, and I am reading the third book because it is the last book in the series, so I'm just gonna it's like get it over with. I would not be reading any other prequels or anything else if the series expanded. I know that for a fact now. Overall, I would suggest just going for Throne of Glass instead of A Court of Thorns and Roses. I mean, if you're watching this, you probably already read it, the whole thing, so yeah, that's happening. Point of conflict there. And just so you know, this review does not affect at all my love for Sarah J Maas. I think she's still a brilliant author, and I cannot wait to read any more things by her. I just don't feel like Farrah was her strongest suit. I mean, it was a great character. It's a great character in the terms of how it is made and how it makes me feel and how it makes me react. But I just found her to be overall truly frustrating, and I didn't feel like she developed as much as I would have liked her to, or as much as I would have aspired for her to. Yeah. And yeah, those are my thoughts. I think that's about it. Oh no, oh no, oh no, wait. Prick? They say prick a shit ton of times, and I was like, what? I've never heard anyone in real life call anyone else a prick. Like, is it a common insult? Is it actually? They use it so much, and I'm like, just call him a fucking asshole. Just go there. Go there. It just seems like so PG-13ish. Just go there. And also she's always like, I gave him a vulgar gesture, and they said that like 20 times throughout the novel. That drove me nuts. I was like, just say you flipped him off. Just say you did this. So yeah, that also happened. Definitely. I would stick Throne of Glass, which I'm really enjoying, by the way. So yeah, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.